After the premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I obviously had a lot of mixed feelings, mostly negative ones about the direction of the series. But I have to say this right out of the gate here, Episode 3 feels like a completely different show. And let me tell ya, that's only a good thing. We start things off with exactly what we were teased in before, and that's Darth Vader. Nothing better than to kick off an episode than to see Vader's suit be assembled onto him in his bacta tank. Something of which we've never exactly seen before, and it was definitely a unique opener. We even then see Vader hang out a bit in his castle on Mustafar, which is pretty cool. It's here where he gets in contact with Reva and tells her that if she proves herself to him, then she'll become the brand new Grand Inquisitor. We're then taken to the Fortress Inquisitorius, where Reva moves forward with her plan in hunting down Kenobi. One thing that no doubt sticks out here is the impressive grand-scale imagery of the fortress, which looks just as amazing like in the game, if not more so here. And I'd like to say the cinematography here is excellent too, as it gives off a real cinematic vibe with the different types of shots. Nothing fan film like here that we saw in the previous 2 episodes, which is super weird considering it's the exact same people working on this as in the past episodes. So why the huge jump in quality then? I've got no idea, but I'm happy to see it, that we're getting it now. Reva then informs the 5th brother and 4th sister that she's in charge of things now and to send probe droids to the mining systems, as that's where Kenobi should be based on the transport that he escaped in. We get a bit back and forth here with Reva and the other 2 Inquisitors, and I did think it was a decent little scene. Neither the 5th brother or 4th sister obviously like Reva, and with that you can feel the tension in the room between them. There's no camaraderie amongst them, it's just business, and even then, you tend to get the feeling that if they do get the chance to betray her, then they won't hesitate to do so. Afterwards, we're then taken to Ben and Leia, who arrive on Mapuzo, a controlled mining planet located in the Mid-Rim. There's a bit of them just wandering about the planet and, just casually talking, which that part I really liked. Leia is constantly asking Ben questions, trying to pick his brain, while he's still at the same time clearly having issues coming to terms with the fact that Anakin is still alive, to the point where he's even hallucinating him. Eventually, the 2 decide to hitchhike on a transport driven by an alien named Freck. At first, we think he's one of the oppressed mining workers on the planet that has no love for the Empire, right? But nope, as it turns out, he's apparently an Imperial loyalist, a pretty hardcore one at that, even being buddy-buddies with the local stormtrooper garrison. And this was another part of the episode that I really enjoyed. Not only the humanization of the stormtroopers out on their daily grind, but Freck, an alien who cares for the Empire, despite the same government showing no love for him, yet he'd rather try to aid the Empire than to help do anything against it. It's interesting, as this is a real-world reflection of what happens in modern-day society in some places around the world, and so it was neat to see something like this here, and well, the fact that we get a space miner who's essentially an alien mole man was a nice little bonus too. Eventually, Ben and Leia get found out during an Imperial traffic inspection, and it's here where we see what a crafty gunslinger Ben really is, as he takes out all of the stormtrooper guards with not his lightsaber or the Force, but with his blaster pistol instead. A so-called uncivilized weapon. There's even a point where Ben takes out a stormtrooper who then proceeds to fall down off a guard tower and gets sliced in half by the laser gate. Yeah, ouch. I was not expecting something quite graphic like that, especially saying how kiddie-like and safe Disney was, taking the series in the premiere, all to get a lower parental TV rating so that even small children can enjoy the series. But yeah, clearly nothing kiddie-like about episode 3, and honestly, good. This already was a small sign that told me that, hey, sorry for the bad series premiere, we're now taking things seriously moving forward. And yeah, based on this, looks like they are. Although at the same time, I do think it is interesting that Disney is fine with showing this, yet for some reason people getting decapitated by a lightsaber, aka a laser sword, is not okay? So, go figure. Anyway, I do also have to quickly mention that Ben's sharpshooting here was one of the few things I did have a problem in this episode with. Not of course that Ben is using a blaster pistol, which we've already seen him do in the Clone Wars, but more so because he's still so darn skilled with it, despite not having to use a blaster after all of this time. We see throughout the series that he's so rusty with his lightsaber or the Force, and the idea is because, well, yeah, he's supposed to not be good at using those due to being inactive for such a long time, 10 years. Which is a long time. Try not doing something for that long and see how rusty you'll be too. So that I could get, but this doesn't explain why he's still so good with a blaster. Last time I checked, he's used blasters far less than his lightsaber, so shouldn't he be pretty bad with the blaster, if not worse than his lightsaber? Especially against military-trained troops who actively use their blasters on a daily to weekly basis. So yeah, this was all just a little too convenient and made absolutely little sense whatsoever, for me at least. Maybe see Kenobi having a little trouble with the blaster and missing a few times, you know, something like that. That would kinda help, but yeah. In the end, Ben and Leia are then saved by Tala, a rogue Imperial officer who uses her position for good in trying to help out the Jedi and anyone against the Empire to safety. She then brings the two back to town and has a transport arranged for them off of the planet. It's here that we get a major name drop in Quinlan Vos, a Jedi Master who at one point turned to the dark side and became a Sith, and then reverted back to being a Jedi. We of course knew that he was a survivor of Order 66 for quite some time now, but his status and what he did afterwards was always a question. So to hear that his name was mentioned here, and hey, who knows, maybe the possibility of Quinlan even appearing on this show, it's got me pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be totally down to see Quinlan do some ass-kicking in live action here, as we've already seen a fair share of him doing exactly that in the Clone Wars. Anyway, this is all then interrupted with Vader's arrival to the town, and whoa, what an entrance that was. Fully knowing that Kenobi is nearby, Vader tries to bait him out by tormenting a random family, force choking the father and instantly snapping the neck of his son, all to lure Ben out. It's a pretty grim and dark scene, like I said, for what supposedly is supposed to be a children's show. It's after this that we get the show's first Vader and Ben encounter, and damn, was it good. I mean, good for Vader, not so much for Ben. It was pretty terrible for him. You can tell Ben is absolutely hating this and doesn't even want to fight, as he's not only hesitant to even ignite his lightsaber despite fully knowing he has to, and like I said before, he's really rusty with it. Meanwhile, Vader is at the top of his game, just enjoying this moment, as he sees this as being his opportunity for revenge. For the lightsaber duel itself here, Ben barely lasts long against Vader before he's completely overwhelmed and loses the fight. Not exactly a surprise because, as we know, Ben has not been doing any training whatsoever this entire time, well, except for blaster training. So then, seeing how embarrassingly weak Ben has become, Vader decides to torture him to a slow and painful death, to make him feel the same pain Anakin himself felt on Mustafar all those years ago. But luckily for Ben, Tala returns and rescues Ben away from Vader, which is actually my second gripe with this episode, and that's how in the world did Tala know how to find where Ben and Vader were dueling? especially since she was running around in the underground tunnels and all, so there's incredibly little chance that she got simply lucky and chose the right tunnel exit. That led her straight to the only quarry out of the many on the planet that a Jedi and a Sith were fighting on. This again was just far too convenient even for Star Wars, but fine. Because of this episode's huge quality jump over the premiere, I'll let this pass. Anyway, Tala and her droid end up saving the injured Ben and tell him that they'll be bringing him to safety to the planet Jabeam. But at the same time, Leia gets caught by Reva in the underground tunnels, which really only means that we're either going to be staying on Mapuzo for another episode, or Ben is leaving the planet without Leia, which, well, I doubt that's happening. So yeah, we're probably staying on Mapuzo for another episode. And that's kind of my third gripe here, being how Reva basically teleported her way to the pilot before Leia got there. I mean, can someone try to explain how does that exactly work? Leia had a longer head start and was told exactly where to go by Tala. Then Reva shows up later on and somehow we're to believe that she beat Leia to the pilot? Not to mention that Reva didn't see either Tala or Leia on her way through the tunnels, only meeting Leia once she then made her way to the pilot. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Like I said, it just seems all a bit too convenient for my liking, and a terrible writing from the premiere showing itself through the cracks in this episode, which isn't something you of course want to see. Now, that all said, aside from my few gripes here, I did like this episode, and I think that's mainly because of how little I liked the first two. I mean, it's still crazy to me to see just how much better things got on this show, like the acting, the writing for the most part, the CGI, and even the music, as compared to the premiere that gave off, a real amateurish fan film vibe. No idea how that's possible, but I'm glad that it did happen, as I can once again be excited for the series moving forward. Yeah, the episode did have its flaws, as I pointed out, but nonetheless, I think it's taking things in the right direction. Hopefully the premiere was just the weakest part of it all, and the rest of the season is straight fire from here on out. And that was my take on this episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let me know what you all thought about the episode in the comments below. And if you haven't already, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.